Thank you, Dan, again. All right, we're in Daniel chapter 12, and thank you for filling in last week. Dick, I'm sure it was awesome. All right, so let's see if we can do this entire chapter and finish up the book of Daniel today for verse by verse, and then we'll do a recap probably next week, which will set us up in a perfect way for then moving on to a new topic. We'll do Ash Wednesday the week following, and then on to a new topic there. So Daniel 12, here we are. At that time shall arise Michael the great prince, who has charge of your people. And there shall be a time of trouble such as has never been, since there was a nation till that time. But at that time your people shall be delivered, everyone whose name shall be found written in the book. And many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. And those who are wise shall shine like the brightness of the firmament, and those who turn many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever. But you, Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book until the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall increase. All right, these we're going to finish the chapter. That's verses 1 through 4. Let's take a look at those. We start out here. At that time, which is at the end of the world, that's what he's talking about, shall arise Michael the great prince, who has charge of your people. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago, just as a recap. Michael, the great archangel, has charge over God's people. He's one of the great princes of heaven. And so when there's a time of an increase in difficulty and trouble in the world, don't be afraid. There's also the increase of the angelic activity to keep you and to guard you through it. Michael is a great prince who has charge of your people, Daniel, the holy people. Just as we read in Psalm 91 that the angels, God gives them charge over you to guard you in all your ways, lest you should dash your foot against a stone. And of course we know that the angels are ministering spirits sent forth to serve for the sake of those who are to obtain salvation. These are the good angels, the elect angels, the ones faithful and loyal to God. Their principal purpose is to go forth from the Lord's throne to take care of God's sons, which is you and me. We also know that in Revelation 12 that now war arose in heaven, Michael and his angels fighting against the dragon. Remember, there's a war in the heavenly places, and that Michael wins against the dragon and his army. Michael and his army are the victors, and they cast the devil out of heaven, and down he comes to the earth, and heaven's rejoicing, but woe to you, O earth and sea, for the devil has come down to you in great wrath, because he knows that his time is short. So there's a great battle in the heavenly places, a cosmic contention, and Michael is up there winning the day, and so he's the one who's watching over us. We should be very thankful that he is in charge, and each of us have our own personal angels as well. Remember the little children, don't despise one of these little ones, for their angels in heaven are constantly beholding the face of my Father who's in heaven. So you have angels, guardian angels, watching over you, and we should be very thankful for that. Okay, what are we to expect was my next question, especially at the very end of the world. We read, and there shall come a time of trouble such as has never been, since there was a nation till that time. So at the end of the world, at the very last chapter of history, there's going to be a time of trouble worse than any time that has ever come before. From Adam, and since there was a nation on the earth till the very end of time, never has there been a more troublesome time than the very end of the world. Is predicted here. Same thing that we hear at other places. I'll just write a few words up here for fun today. In the Hebrew, the word for trouble is tzara. Interestingly, it looks like this. Tzara. Tzara. You're not going to understand it, but it looks like this. It's like T-S-A-R-A-H, kind of. That's at least how I would do it. Which means a time of trouble. The word there means distress, calamity, or anguish, an unfavorable circumstance, with emotional pain and distress. In the New Testament, we heard that, but understand this, that in the last times, says Paul, 2 Timothy 3, there will come times of stress. The word there, I'll just write it up here for fun. I'm not trying to show off. I don't really know this that well anyway, but chaletos, chalepos. So, was it E? It's lepos. Chalepos. So that's like chalepos, like that. This is the word Paul uses. You got trouble here in the Hebrew. You got trouble right here in River City in the Greek. The word there means violence at the end of time, a fierce time. It's used, that word is used in the New Testament for demoniacs that are wild and difficult. You know, when they're tearing that boy and casting him into the fire and into the water, that's the kind of time that's at the end. A grievous time. The word chalepos means hard to bear, hard to endure, distressing, referring to times of evil, calamitous, savage, wild, hostile, violent. So that's what's being spoken of here at this time in Daniel as well. And there shall be a time of trouble like you've never seen before. That sounds like what Trump would say. You've never seen anything like this. Of course, he's always in the positive. This is speaking about the negative. But cancels all that out, though. Okay, that's a good word. If we were just left without the but, that'd be a problem. But we have a but here. But at that time, at what time? At the very last chapter, at the very end of the world, when things seem to be in their worst possible precarious place and situation, so perilous, at that time, your people, namely the Christians, Daniel's people, God's people, shall be delivered. Everyone whose name shall be found written in the book. I don't need to bore you if you don't like the Hebrew, but it's malat. Okay, just to see what it looks like. Malat. That's the word. You shall be something like that. Malat. You shall be delivered. The word means you shall be saved. You shall be rescued. You shall escape all of these things. So we should prepare for the worst, but expect the best at the end of time. Don't be afraid of these things. Michael, your great prince, will watch over you. Your angels will give you the victory. God will give you the victory, that is, through the help of his angels delivering you at the end of the world. Who's going to be delivered? Everyone, to the last man, every man, last man jack of you, as Jack Aubrey would say. Everyone whose name shall be found written in the book. Okay, so what do we know about the book? It's all the way through Scripture. Moses referred to it in Exodus 32. But thou, now, if thou wilt forgive their sin, and if not, blot me, I pray thee, out of thy book, which thou hast written. There's a book, friends, you know this, in heaven, of the saved, of the saints, of those who are redeemed through Jesus Christ and his shed blood. What's going to happen at the end of time, we know. I could give you many other references here. We did them last time, though I won't go over all of those. But we know that in Revelation 20, John says, I saw the dead, great and small, standing before the throne, and books were opened. So I brought a few books out here. Can you imagine if you have all of these books? Look at these books. Everybody's standing before the judge for judgment. These are all Lenski's commentaries. And you got books after books after books. And what's written in all the books? They are opened. All the books are opened. And what's written in there? Record books. These are records. These are ledgers. What are they ledgers? They are recording every last deed, thought, word, action, omission, everything done by every man, woman, and child for the history of the world. Also the angels, but we're talking about the men here. Is that all human beings will be judged by what was written in the books. That is, by what they had done. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, we know that we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, so that each one will receive good or evil according to what he's done in the body. And so God is watching every last stitch, every last wink of the eye, every last careless word, Jesus says, shall be brought into judgment on that day. The books were open, so I could lay all these up, but I won't do it right now. But imagine they're all open, and you're judged before the great King, the Almighty One, Jesus, and God the Father. Okay, so what's the good news for us? I have the Bible here, but there's another book in heaven. It's called the Book of the Lamb of God, the Book of Life. And who is written in here? Everyone who has come to God. We are all sinners. We all had things written against us, but our names were written in the Book of Life when God called us and chose us and brought us into Jesus Christ through the preaching of the gospel, through faith in his name, through baptism. Your name was written in. And so whoever was found written in the book at the end of time, when there's the great trouble at the last time and then the final judgment, everyone whose name is found written in the book of the Lamb of God, in the book of life, shall be malat, shall be saved, rescued, delivered. These are good words, aren't they? Wonderful, wonderful words of life. And don't even rejoice that the angels are subject to you, says Jesus. Rejoice that your names are written in heaven. God knows your name. And so thank you, God. I ask you also, says Paul, help these women, for they've labored side by side with me together in the gospel, together with Clement and the rest of my fellow workers whose names are in the book of life. So books are very important. And one thing I was sharing with my dad too, because he's really looking towards thinking he's going to depart this world soon. And we were talking about Revelation, and I said, in God's book are written kept all of our tears. He's put them all in a bottle too. He remembers them all. He wipes away and will turn all those tears to joy at his coming. But we got to wait for that at the same time. All right. Next verse. And many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. So what are we speaking about here? Is the general resurrection of the dead. Isaiah 26, thy dead shall live, their bodies shall rise. So dwellers in the dust awake and sing for joy, for thy dew is a dew of light, and on the land of the shades thou wilt let it fall. Okay, so that we're looking forward to the whole hope of the Christian and the Bible is we know where death comes from, sin, through Adam and our sins then, and the whole Bible is the story of God coming to deal with sin and therefore to deal with death and therefore to give us eternal life by taking away our sins through his death and gifting it to us and restoring us to life, which is the resurrection, the world to come. Come, my people, enter your chambers and shut your doors behind you, says God. This sounds like the Passover, right? Hide yourselves for a little while, this is in Isaiah, until the wrath is past. For behold, the Lord is coming forth out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. And the earth will disclose the blood shed upon her, the books, and will no more cover her slain. Okay, Paul says, I have a hope in God, which these themselves, his accusers, accept, that there will be a resurrection of both the just and of the unjust. So who's going to get resurrected? Everybody. It's not just Christians. Everyone who's ever lived. You can't even avoid it. A lot of people will want to avoid the resurrection on that day, but they must appear in their bodies for the judgment. And Jesus says, don't marvel at this, for the hour is coming when all who are in the tombs will hear his voice and come forth. Those who've done good to the resurrection of life, and those who've done evil to the resurrection of judgment. I heard recently that some churches don't preach any fire and brimstone anymore. And you can certainly preach that wrongly, okay? And just lean on legalism and make everybody feel guilty and down in the dumps all the time. But at the same time, I said in this conversation, you need to hear of such things, fire and brimstone, because it's real. And then you need to hear that preached to bring you to Christ, in whom you have freedom, forgiveness of sins, and the resulting emotion and experience of joy, which is what the Christian life's all about. We're not supposed to go around in guilt all the time. We are to go around in joy all the time. But that's through the preaching of both the wrath and then leading us to the gospel, where we find our Savior and hear of his wondrous salvation to us. And so some here we see many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth. Remember, sleeping is a way of talking about dying, about death in the Bible. Remember when Stephen was being stoned? Remember they were killing him in Acts chapter 7? Lord, don't hold this sin against them. And when he had said this, into thy hands I commit my spirit, when he had said this, he fell asleep. So death is like sleep, isn't it? When we die, our eyes close and it seems like we fall asleep. It's like sleep. David slept with his fathers, it's said in the Bible. Ever since the fathers first fell asleep, all things have continued as they were, says Peter. So death is like sleep. Jesus even says of the little girl that had died, in Luke 8, he says, don't weep. She's not dead, but only sleeping. In other words, I'm bringing her spirit back. And we shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed in a moment at the twinkling of an eye at the last trumpet. That's the resurrection. So sleeping and death. So many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth, namely everybody, is going to awake. Come up, open their eyes again, come back to life, and some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. Notice the words there, everlasting for both of them. Okay, eternal. The word is nolam. I don't need to write it up here, and we'll take this up maybe later. But the word is nolam in the Greek, in the Hebrew, which means forever, for eternity, into forever. Shall have some to everlasting life. Don't you want to have that one? Well, that's found in Jesus Christ. I am the resurrection and the life, Jesus says. Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet shall he live, and whoever lives and believes in me shall never die. I give you eternal life inside of you. So that's the whole purpose of this book, okay? The whole purpose of the Bible is to preach to us Jesus, that we might have life in his name, eternal. So God's planning on making you immortal with him in everlasting life, light, and joy. That's pretty cool. Everybody's ultimately immortal. You're going to continue somewhere, but they're going to continue in eternal death, which is everlasting to shame and everlasting contempt. The word for shame is cherpa in the Hebrew. Everlasting reproach and scorn and taunt and reproach. And contempt is the word deron, which means abhorrence, aversion. It comes from a root word meaning repulse. It's you're revulsed at you, basically, what God would say. Notice, we'll jump over to Isaiah 66. You notice, Isaiah is an awesome book, isn't it? And it's full of so many joys. But look at how it ends. For as the new heavens and new earth, I will make shall remain before me, says the Lord, so shall your descendants and your name remain. From new moon to new moon and Sabbath to Sabbath, all flesh shall come to worship before me, says the Lord. And they, namely the saints, shall go forth and look on the dead bodies of the men that have rebelled against me. For their worms shall not die, their fire shall not be quenched, and they shall be an abhorrence to all flesh. That's the end of Isaiah. How'd you like to have a book end like that? Well, this one does. That's the word there, an abhorrence, shame, everlasting contempt, reproach, because the books were opened and they were not found worthy of eternal life, for their sins were yet upon them, and they had rejected the Savior. For those in the book of life, though, they have everlasting joy, shall be their crown on their heads, a crown of glory, a crown of gold, a crown of life, a crown of righteousness, and to reign with Christ in the world to come. Verse 3, and those who are wise shall shine like the brightness of the firmament, and those who will turn many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever. Okay, so here's what the resurrection will be like. This perishable nature must put on the imperishable. And Jesus says, the righteous will shine like the sun in the kingdom of their Father. And here we hear that the wise shall shine like the brightness of the firmament. What's the firmament? That's that vault over us. It's like we're living in a planetarium. You ever been to a planetarium? Okay, and you look up and it looks just real? Well, that's what it's like. It's a big vault over us, the heavens. The word there for firmament is rakia, which means extended surface, the expanse of the firmament. A vault supporting the waters above it. Remember, there are waters above the firmament in which God has set the sun and the moon and the stars. Considered by the Hebrews, and myself as well, as solid and supporting the waters above it. Okay, so we're going to shine like the brightness of the firmament is the promise. Like the stars forever and ever. So Daniel says you're going to shine like the stars. Jesus says it's like the sun. Just different angles on the same glory that's prepared for the wise. And it's forever and ever. So this is an eternal victory. Verse 4. But you, Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book until the time of the end. What's that mean? Shut up the words and seal the book until the time of the end? In other words, this is a prophecy in Daniel's time of a time yet many days hence. It's far off in the future. Just shut it up, lock it up, seal it, because it's going to be, no one's going to completely understand this, number one, until the end. The saints understand it in part, but it'll be completely opened like a big treasure chest, and out of it pour all the fulfillment of these things at the last, like gold coins sparkling all over the place and being poured down upon us at the end. But you notice something here. Until the time of the end, shut it up. The word for end is kates in the Greek, Hebrew. It means to the extremity, to the time of the extremity, to the time of the border, it is another way to translate it. To the time of the end of time and space. Shut up the book. It's like you take this prophecy. I don't want to close my Bible. Take time, but you put it in here, shut it up, seal it, put it over there till the time of the end. What do we note in the book of Revelation? Do not seal up the book, for the time is near. By the time of John the Apostle, we're no more keeping that under wraps. The time is close. All right, so we are, in Daniel's time, it was for many days hence. In our time, it's like, be ready at a moment's notice. It's coming fast and quickly to us. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall increase. Now, it's an interesting word, isn't it? A prophecy of the end times. What's going to happen? People are going to be running this way. People are going to be running that way. There's going to be lots of chaos, people going in every different direction, and running after all kinds of things until the end of time, especially at the end of time. And knowledge shall increase. How do you interpret that one? Well, it depends. I have one way I've looked at it. Kretzmann has a different. I like both of them. Knowledge shall increase. One way you could look at that is the knowledge of human beings. Their insight into how to do things is going to increase towards the end of time. Such as, remember in Genesis 11 when God came to look at Babel, remember? They were in that tower up to the heavens. And God said, basically, see, they are all of one voice and one mind, and now nothing will be impossible to them. If they put their minds to it, they're going to be able to do anything. So God confused their languages to slow them down a bit, right? And destroy all that knowledge building up, because everybody lives for 900 years and has the same language, and they're all very smart. Well, they're going to do all kinds of things. Look up the pyramids sometime. I saw something with the geographic center of all the land mass of that has been calculated. I do not know how. Look up this video, and they come down from Google Space, Google Earth, whatever, and they come down on crosshairs to see what the exact center of the landmass was. And it comes down and it gets closer and closer and closer. Eventually that hash mark lands right on the top of the Great Pyramid in Egypt. I don't know how, I don't know what, you have to research it. But I'm like, how did they know that, if that's true? What was that really about? Some people posit it was an energy creating factory somehow from the energy of the earth. I don't know what the Great Pyramid was, but I don't think it was just to bury an old king. At any rate, they had a lot of knowledge. People's knowledge in our day has increased vastly in our lifetimes. You know, just going back a few years, we've seen so many changes just in our days of knowledge increasing. You know, for all of history, from the Bible to just 100 and some years ago, everybody's still riding horses, sailing tall ships. I want to kind of go back to those days. But these days, I just flew down in an airplane yesterday from Boston, and I was, 2.5 hours, and I can watch the Celtics while I'm flying down here. And I'm like, man, I wish it were faster. I beat the train, though, with Beth. They can now, not only do what they can do in the bigger spectrum, but they can actually map out human DNA and do all kinds of manipulative things with that, Think of laser vision. You ever got LASIK? You can see clearly. Of course, mine is faded. Can't hardly see you now, but they just shoot a little light in your eye and boom, you can see. So knowledge can increase in advancements like we've seen in our times technologically. But it could also be, as Kretzmann says, many shall search it through, and thus understanding will be great. In other words, the wise will search the scriptures, and even this book that's sealed, and their knowledge will increase as they search out the scriptures. So that's true as well, isn't it? As we get towards the end of time, knowledge will increase concerning the truth amongst the wise, amongst the saints. So both of those could be true. Both of those are true, coming true in our time. Verse 5. Then I, Daniel, looked, and behold, let me just see where I am here. Yeah, okay. Then I, Daniel, looked, and behold, 2 others stood, one on this side of the bank of the stream, and one on that bank of the stream. Okay, and I said to the man clothed in linen. I have here a question. Who appeared to Daniel? And is this still the same vision as Daniel 10 and 11? I think it does. I think it is, even though it's a different chapter. Because what do we see there in Daniel chapter 10, verse 5? I was standing on the bank of the great river, the Euphrates, and I lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, a man clothed in linen. So that was Daniel 10. And then we did all that, Daniel 11, all that history of Antiochus Epiphanes and all the things that happened there. And then here we are. He's still at the bank of the river. So I'd say maybe it's the same vision. Could be another one, and he's at the same bank or stream, but it seems like the same vision to me. And who appears to him? 2 other angels. He says, one is standing on one side, bank of the stream, and the other on the other side, the bank of the stream. And I said to the man clothed in linen, who is above the waters of the stream. That's amazing too, right? He's hovering over the stream, over the waters. How long shall it be till the end of these wonders? The word for wonders there is pele in the Hebrew, which can be extraordinary things hard to understand. It's also the wonderful acts of God in his judgment and redemption. Like the wonders of Egypt, when God saved his people there were wonders of his miraculous workings to not only avenge himself on Pharaoh, but also save and rescue his people out to the promised land. How long till the end of these wonders that you've been talking about here, O angel? So all of these things. What do we see here about Daniel? What's the content and the aim of Daniel's question? That's my question number 9. Well, his content is, I want to know the timing of this stuff. When Give me the exact time of this stuff. I want to know. And isn't that Daniel's question? Isn't that basically all the ancient prophets, their question? When is this Christ going to come? And when is all this going to happen? Isn't that what the apostles wanted to know? Huh? Yeah. They don't get an exact answer, but they're always asking, like, when are these things going to take place? And then Jesus just gives them warnings. Be careful, be on alert. And then he says in Acts 1, when they'd come together, they asked him, Lord, will you at this time restore the kingdom to Israel? We want to know the timing of things. Tell us when. We want to know the exact appointed times. What was Jesus' answer to them? It is not for you to know times or seasons which the Father has fixed by his own authority, but you shall be my witnesses, etc. Okay, so we always want to know the time. Daniel did. The apostles did. I think you and I do too, don't we? Wouldn't we want to ask God, when exactly are you coming? When is all this stuff that we're reading about, which is hard to understand, exactly going to take place? We want to know the timing. Well, it's God's gracious will to keep that top secret. He says, for you, be alert, follow me, and let me take care of the timing of these things. So we have to be left in suspense. And we like it that way, don't we? Do you really want to know when you're going to die? My dad does not know when he's going to pass. Nobody knows except God, but the doctor told him you got a couple of months or something like that, and so that's fixed in his mind. It doesn't go well for us when we think we know the timing of things, because it leads to, depressing. What? I'm only here for a couple of weeks, couple of months. I wish we'd had a different word there from that doctor. God bless her. I think she's a good doctor, but I think it'd be best to just say, I don't know. And I think that's why God tells us, you're not supposed to know. Because it's going to either cause you to be proudly secure and stray, or it's going to cause you despair and hopelessness and fear. No, best you just follow me. Trust me, I know the timing of these things. And I also want to be seeing who's going to be faithful to me and watching at my imminent and surprise appearance at the end of time. So Daniel wants to know when. And then the man clothed in linen, the angel, who is above the waters of the stream, raised his right hand and his left hand toward heaven. Like this. Hear a big pronouncement about to come. Okay? And I heard him swear. As you're lifting your hand in court to swear, he's swearing here. He swore by him who lives forever and ever, that's God, that it would be. Here's your answer, Daniel. It would be for a time, 2 times, and half a time. Would Daniel be satisfied with that one? Would you? Well, is this angel speaking the truth? Absolutely. Do we know what a time, times, and half a time are? No, we really don't. A lot of people want to say, I know exactly when it is, and Jesus is coming on this such and such a date and all that, and don't believe him. I don't think anybody knows exactly here what time, 2 times and half a time actually is, but one only thing we know is that God knows exactly what he's talking about, and he's told us the truth there. But that's another one of those things shut up and sealed until the time of the end. Okay, so a time, 2 times, and half a time. Right. You notice, by the way, that's the same period of time as Antichrist's reign in Daniel chapter 7. Verse 25, he shall speak words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, the Antichrist will, and shall think to change the times and the law. We see a lot of people changing times and laws these days. And they shall be given into his hand, the saints, for a time, 2 times, and half a time. So the Antichrist reign is the equivalent of a time, 2 times, and half a time. For as long as the Antichrist is around in the world, well, the Lord will come at the end of that, not before. So we have to deal with a wolf in the forest. So let's be wise, Little Red Riding Hoods, and brandish our swords like Galahad the Great, and slay the dragon and fight against his minions until the Lord returns, until Richard comes back to England, as it were. Okay, mixed a whole bunch of legends there, but that's okay. And that time, when the shattering of the power of the holy people comes to an end, all these things would be accomplished. That is a kind of troubling verse, wouldn't you say? When is all this going to come to pass, says Daniel? And the end of all things, and the saints are going to be raised and come to everlasting life and have joy, and the wicked will be cast down into everlasting shame. When, says Daniel. Well, it's at God's timing, times 2 times and a half time. While you have to deal with the little horn, the Antichrist, and you're going to have to fight that wolf, that dragon for a time. And we're also going to have to see the shattering of the power of the holy people. Who's that? God's people, the saints on earth. Their power, namely the word there is yad, or hand, literally hand. Their strength, their power, has to be shattered. And then all things will be accomplished. When you read that one, it's like, that's a scary verse. You mean the church is going to have to suffer and even be almost shattered to the ground, and then the Lord will come? Seems to be what it's saying. That's why if you look over there in Revelation 13, and you hear of the beast there, the one that comes out of the sea, remember the very fierce beast? It says, and he conquered the saints and prevailed over them. And some of the ancient manuscripts remove that verse. So that's not found in the scriptures. I think because it's so troubling. You don't want to hear that God's people get conquered. But what does that mean? As I've told you before, my interpretation of that one, what does it mean that the shattering is the word nafats, which means you're dashed against the ground, basically. You're broken in pieces. You're beaten into pieces, shattered, broken asunder, pulverized. That's a good word, isn't it? Pulverized? You want to be pulverized? Well, the church is power in the earth. Has to be pulverized and shattered, and then all things will be accomplished, and God will come in at the last minute, save the day, and give you the kingdom. But you got to be willing to go through the end times of trouble and pulverization at the end, where God's people, seems their power on earth is broken. That's a tough verse. But to encourage you, I want to say this. The holy people, by the way, the kadosh yam. Kadosh means holy. Kadosh, 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 holy, holy, holy is the Lord. Yam, the people. What does that mean ultimately? I believe is that our influence, our power on earth as we are running as an army across the earth gets shattered towards the end of time by the Antichrist, which seems to be what we're seeing now. Every church thing you go to these days, nationally or locally, where are the young people? Why are not as many people coming to church as there used to be? Why the decline in the numbers? Why are people turning away from Christ? Well, it's part of what's coming at the end of time. Our influence in the culture seems to be less. Now, don't let that discourage you, because we don't know our times and seasons, number one. Number two, our charge is always to win and extend God's influence in the culture. And number three, and best of all, this is only speaking about an outward kind of prevailing. Internally and spiritually, the Christians are always winners. We win so much you're going to be sick of winning. No, you are so much the winners. You are more than conquerors. Super niktos, I think it is in the Greek. Super conquerors. More than conquerors. And spiritually, we love not our lives unto death, and we conquer by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of our testimony, it says in Revelation 12. So what is the victory that overcomes the world? Even our faith, 1 John chapter 5. So if you keep faith to the end, you win and you come out as a winner, and God always leads us in triumph, and through Christ is always spreading the fragrance of the knowledge of Him everywhere. Now, what about this shattering of the hand or the power or the strength of the holy people on the earth? I'd take it to be the influence of the church in the culture to a large degree. But think about how glorious this is. Because what are we really reflecting? And this is my own, I didn't read this elsewhere, it's my view. I think it's a good one though, is that we are reflecting the very life and story of our own Savior Jesus Christ. Think about his whole history. He comes on the scene and he's getting victory after victory. People are flocking to him. He's casting out demons. He's raising the dead. He's walking on the water. He's preaching the whole world is going after this man. What had to happen before his final victory? The shattering of the power of Jesus, at least outwardly, right? All of his friends go away. All the fame goes away. All the glory goes away. All the influence seems to dispel into the night air, vanishing like mist. I just thought of that. And, he gets nails into him. And he goes on a cross. And it seems he even dies. He does die. He sheds his blood. It seems like his power has been completely shattered. But what really was going on there? It was just God setting up the best victory of all. On the third day, I'm alive again, and eternal life and victory is mine, and I give it to all who believe in me. So I think in a sense, the bride of the husband is in a sense reflecting the glorious story of her own prince and master and king and hero and savior, Jesus, whose also his power was seemingly, but not really, shattered at the cross. Ours is seemingly shattered, but not really. And he got the victory, we get the victory, and we come out all the more glorious in the end. So don't let these things trouble you. You're always going to win, and you're always called to win as a Christian. Just sometimes we have to just deal with the fact that towards the end of time, our influence in the world, well, it wanes a bit as the Antichrist rages and people get more and more nutso and wild and fierce and demon-filled and all that stuff. So just hold to Christ. He'll hold to you. You're going to come out glorious in the end. This is the great, epic, royal story of all history that you're going to rejoice in forever. So you are always going to be the winners, though. So don't let an outward trouble, which I think that's what talking about here, be troubling to you. Now, we're always internally winning, and Christ is always with you to give you the victory. But that has to happen, and then comes the end. All then will be accomplished. And this is what the angel swore with his right hand and his left hand held to heaven. I heard, says Daniel, verse 8, but I didn't understand. So did Daniel even get what was being told him? No. Do you understand? Partially. We get this, but times, 2 times, and half a time, we hear it, we believe it, but we're like, I don't exactly know what you're talking about. Yeah, I heard it, but what? It's often the way with Jesus, right? He's like, he tells things in parables and people are like, yeah, we heard it, but what? And the apostles even, they're like, what? God's telling the truth, but it has to be unlocked to us and determined. So we get it in part, then we'll understand it fully. So be happy we understand these things in part and we get the glorious gist of it. Okay, then I said, oh my Lord, what shall be the issue of these things? I need some more answers here. That wasn't quite enough. I mean, you got an angel standing there hovering over the waters, and he just gave you the answer, and you're like, question please, teacher, I need some more explanation. What's going to come out of these things, the issue of them? I want to know. He said, go your way, Daniel, for the words are shut up and sealed until the time of the end. In other words, you heard enough. You got enough. Go on that. And the words are all locked away. You can't totally understand all these things. I've told you the truth. It's out in the open. But just like the parables, that hearing they may not hear, they may hear but not hear, and seeing they may see but not see, etc., and perceive. God is revealing to us the truth here. We delight in it, but it's sealed up too. It's all locked away. We've heard the truth. We believe it. We take the glorious encouragements from it. But as to every last little tiny detail of this, I can't explain it to you. Daniel can't. I don't know if any man can. But we have enough. Go your way. In other words, you've gotten enough. Go and do what you got to do, Daniel. And Christians, you too. All of you here at Christ Lutheran, go and do what you got to do. Just keep to your task. Trust these things. God will bring it to pass, and you'll get the victory in the end. He said, go your way, Daniel, for the words are shut up and sealed until the time of the end. Remember again that in Revelation 22, very last chapter of the Bible, and he said to me, do not seal up the words of the prophecy of this book, for the time is near. Okay, so we're in that time. The time is near, so it's not so shut up now. And it's not shut up for many, many years hence. It's like open. The scroll cork has been popped, and it's all spilling out in our times in a glorious good way. Many shall purify themselves, verse 10, and make themselves white, and be refined, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but those who are wise shall understand. Okay, Daniel, the other day and back there, if you got to go, I'm almost done here, but I know you got an early morning there. Okay. So what does this mean? I want you to see here with me. Look, it says here, many shall purify themselves and make themselves white. What does that mean? Many people are going to get saved out of being sinners. And how do you make yourself white? You're purified. What are you purified by? The blood of Christ. Faith in his name, which purifies us from our sin and makes us white. And then we're refined as well. We are made better and better and better as the Holy Spirit works on us to make us more and more like Christ and more fruitful and more like him all the time and brighter and brighter. But the wicked shall do wickedly. In other words, the evil people are going to continue to do wickedness. Just get it through your head, so people of God, that till the end of time, they're going to be wicked people. The wheat has to grow with the tares to the end of time. The righteous with the wicked. And they're going to do wickedly. Davos, Switzerland, crazy financial schemes, depopulation, pandemics, this new X they're trying to let loose or whatever. It's ridiculous. They just don't even give these people the time of day. Don't worry about it. God's got you. None of the wicked shall understand. They won't understand the truth of the gospel which is preached. They'll be hardened to it. They can't understand, for they're passed over, and also the devil blinds them. But those who are wise shall understand. We're going to understand not only the times of the end and what's going on, which we're talking about tonight. You understand it, right? Have you understood what I said tonight so far? As much as I'm understanding it, we see so clearly. If you're an unbeliever and you're going through our days, you're in complete blackness. You don't have a clue. We know so much, and it's in a nice, neat package. We just don't have all the details and all the timing, but we've got the big picture very clearly. You are very clear in what you have. The wise shall understand. Notice how this also goes with Revelation. It says, don't seal up the words of the prophecy of the book, for the time is near. And then he says, let the evil, this is John, Revelation 22, let the evildoer still do evil, and the filthy still be filthy, and the righteous still do right, and the holy still be holy. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, the time is near. Just keep doing what you're doing. The righteous are going to grow up, and the wicked are going to grow up, and don't let that bother you. Isn't that weird? You think, I want every wicked person to do right, and of course we do. God's calling them to do so, but they're going to go their own way. Let them go their own way. We'll go our own way, and we'll see who ends up the better at the end. Right? So I wish I could just fix everybody in the world and make them all do the right thing. But frankly, the filthy are still going to do filthy stuff, and they're going to be filthy, and they're going to do wickedness and evil. That's just the world we have until the end. And from the time that the continual burnt offering is taken away, and the abomination that makes desolate is set up, there shall be 1,290 days. Okay, which is what? The same as, well, no. That's 1,290 days. It's similar, in a sense, to Revelation, which talks about the Antichrist is in power with authority for 42 months. But that is 42 times 30 days for a Hebrew month is 1,260 days. So it's pretty close, but not exactly. I don't know. You want me to define for you exactly what 1,260 days literally is? It could be literal, could be symbolic. I don't exactly know. It's not for me to know the times and seasons of things, or us, but times, 2 times and half a time? Not sure, but it's real, and it's fixed, and it's ticking off very clearly. This is the whole thing that was talking about the... there are different levels of the abomination and the desolate thing. There's Antiochus Epiphanes destroying the temple. Then there's the Romans destroying the temple in 70 AD. Then there's the destruction of the spiritual church by the Antichrist. I would say the Pope of Rome. And how long that exactly is, 1,260 days. I don't exactly understand all that. So if someone else has a better explanation, let me know. Verse 12. But he who waits and comes to the 1,335 days, blessed is he. In other words, what can I tell you about 1,335 days? I don't really know the answer to that, except that God knows. And what is the real point here? The point here is endure to the end, all things. If things are getting tough, you only got a few days still to go. That's the whole message of the book of Revelation. Patient endurance. You have need of endurance that you may do the will of God and receive what is promised. Hebrews 10. You'll be hated by all for my name's sake. Matthew 10. But he who endures to the end will be saved. Revelation 13. If anyone is to be taken captive, to the captivity goes, etc. Here is a call for the endurance and faith of the saints. And Revelation 14. Here is a call for the endurance of the saints. So what is this ultimately telling us here? Here's a call for the endurance of the saints. I don't know what 1,260 or 90 or 2 times and half a times or 1,360 days, 35 days is, but endure and be patient. It's not long. And in a short time comes the victory. That's the way I understand it. But go your way, verse 13, till the end. In other words, Daniel's probably still had his head is spinning like, no, wait, come back. I don't understand. It's like that Greatest American Hero. I lost the record book. If you ever remember that. I lost the book for the instructions for the super suit. You don't watch Greatest American Hero from the 80s? Remember the aliens came and gave him a Superman suit and he lost the instructions and they were taking off into space. And he's like, the end of the movie is like this. He's like, come back. I don't have the instruction book. That's what Daniel's like. I don't get it. But go your way. You got enough. You got enough to go. Go your way, Christians. Go your way, Daniel, to the time of the end. And what's going to happen? At the end, here's the promise. At the end, you shall rest and shall stand in your allotted place at the end of the days. So that's a clear word, isn't it? After confuscated, is that right? Or obfuscated, confused, sort of, I don't quite get it all, but that I understand. Just keep doing what you're doing, hold fast to Christ, and at the end you're going to stand in your place. And there are allotted places for us in the kingdom of God. Remember, we're almost at the end here. See? You only have this much to go. James and John, sons of Zebedee, came forward to Jesus and said, Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask you. Well, what do you want me to do for you, says Jesus. Grant us to sit one at your right hand and one at your left in your glory. We want those places. You don't know what you're asking, says Jesus, etc. And then he says, but to sit at my right hand and at my left hand, it's not mine to grant. It's for those for whom it's been prepared. Who is that? I don't know. Moses, Elijah, Peter, I don't know who it is, but someone's got those places. And but notice, there's a place at his table, various positions. Therefore, Jesus says, when you're invited to a feast, go and sit in the lowest place, so that when your host comes, he may say to you, friend, go up higher, and you'll be honored in the presence of all. So when you go to stand before a king and take a seat in his presence, don't sit up on a high place, exalt yourself, because he's going to make you go lower. But take the lowest place and he's going to say, come on up here, sit with me. And you'll be honored in everybody's presence. So there's allotted places for us in heaven. And he, each shall receive his wages according to his labor. And for us, when we've done all that is commanded us, let's rather say this: we are unworthy servants. We've only done what was our duty. And then he'll delight, as the king, to honor you. Say, watch what I'm going to do for you now. I got a great place for you. Sit up here with me, up high. In fact, our allotted place ultimately is the throne with him. He who conquers shall sit with me on my throne, as I myself conquered and sat down with my Father on his throne. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. So ultimately your place is on his throne, on God's throne. You're going to sit with your Father up there and your Savior. But as to the allotted places we have in the kingdom, well, let's trust that to God. Don't worry about those. Don't worry about those at all. Just know you have an allotted place and do your duty and follow him now. Have a patient endurance and good cheer. Keep hope alive. Victory is yours at the proper time, and you'll stand there in your place at the end of the days. All right. Conclude with this word from Kretzmann. Blessed are all who await their death in this spirit of calm hopefulness and certain trust in the promise of God. All right, good. We'll do a little review of Daniel next week, and then we'll be off to another topic. Well, Ash Wednesday and another topic. Thank you.